Most executives spend their careers following a script. They go to school, they get a good job, climb the ladder, and then if they're lucky, they get to choose when they retire. But what happens when you decide not to follow that script? Well, today's guest, Namrata Sarmah, has spent years leading product functions, and then she made a very surprising move. She's built a global community of more than 800 product leaders, in addition to being a fractional consultant with various private equity companies in the UK. And she's launched what she calls a plural career, which I think is a fantastic term that I haven't heard. We've heard portfolio, we've heard fractional, but I think plural is a new one for us, and I think really appropriate. But her whole purpose here is she's really defining what a modern executive career can look like. And I just love her. She's fantastic. And I think all the listeners of the 2 by 2 are going to really appreciate what you have to say, Nam. So thank you so much for joining us today from London.
Thank you, Lauren. The pleasure is only mine. Super excited to be here and so lucky to meet you very recently. I think it's almost been a month now where I met you in Austin and loved our conversation. And I think we are so aligned in the way we lead our lives that I had to do this.
Well, let's go back to that. So you have said in our several meetings, you've said something that really has stuck with me. You talked about how many of us have been conditioned from
Mm.
childhood to believe that there is one path, one
Mhm.
career trail which we should follow through these dark and weary woods. But what did you mean by that?
I think so. I'm Indian. My background is I'm from India, so born and raised in a very Indian, quite traditional family. Traditional family values: work hard, play hard, and there is always a template when you're growing up. You go to a good school. If you score well, if your grades are good enough, you get to a good college, and then you do an MBA typically, or do a master's degree, something like that. Try to build an international career if you're lucky enough. Work, slog, get those big job titles, and maybe at 60 retire, and then nobody talks what happens after that, right? That's like the end of the script. So I'm exactly one of them. And my mom and dad have lived exactly the same life as well. My dad was an executive and he reached the top of his career. And then similarly, my mom, worked in education, reached the top of her career and then retired. And honestly, I have nothing against it, by the way. I think that's a way of life. But I think somewhere down the line, as I was growing in my career, I kind of realized that that's not the only options. There's many other options to lead your life.
When did you first start questioning this traditional path?
I think probably 3 years ago, very recently, actually, 3, 4 years ago. Because bear in mind, I've been working in product management for 18 years, 18 plus years now. So I started working. So right after undergrad, started working at 22. Since then, I've been working nonstop, just like most of us, right? Working nonstop, getting those big promotions, kind of rising up in the corporate ladder. And then I think I became a CPO, a chief product officer, 6 years ago, and very fortunate to work in a few very interesting organizations doing that role. So I did that role in a full-time capacity 3 times, three very different organizations, very different sectors. And then down the line, around the same time, I started I'm a people person. I have a lot of people that I know, a lot of amazing people that I know and I've worked with. And I started building a community of actually chief product officers and product people in general. And then I started building it on a side as just like a hobby. It was more like a hobby. And then later on, when we achieved a certain kind of size, there was so much inbound inquiries from large tech companies, from different organizations who wanted to sponsor the community, who want to do stuff with us and do different projects. And I just realized that actually this is not just a hobby. I mean, this could be a real business if I do it properly, in a very kind of disciplined way and kind of grow organically. And I like to grow businesses organically in general. I'm quite entrepreneurial that way. I was never taught to be entrepreneurial, bear in mind. My mom and dad never said to me to do a business. That was out of question. I'm born in a kind of family where you just work. Absolutely. It was just you just work. You work. You get promoted. It's great if you can get the top kind of job title. But nobody ever told me start a business, go plural, or do multiple things. That was out of the agenda. That was not even in discussion, right? But I am entrepreneurial. I went to business school as well. So I understand how businesses work. I know how to kind of run a business. So I started kind of challenging myself in that way and actually just like got lucky as well. I think you have to have luck by your side. So CPO track, which is my community, global community of product leaders, grew very organically. This is our third year trading. So this is our third year working, kind of this organization as a proper business. It's a profitable little company. It's a small business. It's not a big business. The small business is highly profitable from, day one. We have fantastic sponsors, tier one sponsors, you name it, we have them. Mostly the big kind of tech SaaS businesses. Now a lot of AI first companies are our sponsors. And I just figured out that actually this could be a real business and started pursuing that. Now, got lucky because it worked out. And when it worked out, I realized that actually, hold on, if I have to really run this as a business, and this is a very people business, it's not something I can just outsource to somebody else. I have to put all the efforts and put the time in it. And I realized that I actually can't do both. I can't run a full-time, full-on business, super visible on social media as well. So I can't do that and also
Mhm.
do a permanent exec role where I'm answerable to the CEO and the board. And I'm kind of doing a disservice to both actually by doing both at the same time. So that's when kind of last year I decided that, okay, I think I have to leave one of these things. So I left my full-time role, full-time kind of career, I would say, and very intentionally decided that I would pursue my business and I would start going plural. It's a very common word in the UK, by the way, Lauren. I think
Oh,
you can
really?
launch
Okay, I didn't know that.
in the US.
No,
Launch
nobody's
it in
saying
the
it here.
yeah. It's a quite a common word here. It's like going plural. Going plural is common term. So I did the same thing. I went plural and decided that okay, I'm going to run my business, but I'm going to also continue doing consulting and advisory because I don't want to remove myself with the very precious career and connections that I built over the years. I think that'll be completely unfair as well.
Okay, great. I want to get into the how they complement one another. I have found that as well. It's one of the reasons I keep doing this podcast is that there's a real nice complement between the
Yeah.
business that pays the bills and the business that fills my interest, which is this one. But what about I want to go back to like the core of
Mm,
product.
mm.
So you've given a good example of your background, traditional, go get a job, graduate school, business, doctor, lawyer, engineer, one of those.
Yeah.
By the way, those of you who don't see my photo, even though I am Patel, I am actually not Indian. I've married in, but same upbringing, same exact upbringing for me as well. Like mom home, dad with a traditional job. You're going to you're bright, you can do anything. So now you're going to go do anything, go, right? And you're going to
Yeah.
go to school, get great grades, go to a good college, go to graduate school, etc.
Yeah.
Actually, before I ask you why product, when you told your parents, I
Yeah.
assume at some point you had to break the news that you were an entrepreneur or going to take this route. Was there a reaction or were you established enough that they were, like, this all makes sense and it wasn't a big deal? Like, I feel like people have fear around this. What
Yeah.
was
Yeah, you're kind of going against the norm. So my dad is no more, so I don't know how he would have reacted. Probably he would have reacted positively. That's my guess. My mom is a teacher. Okay, so she worked in education. She's a head teacher. She's an ex-head teacher now, newly retired. So she has a very templatized life in general. She likes the template. Okay, she wants us to follow it. So her immediate reaction was, "Okay, it's like a side thing. Well, surely you can do both."
good if there's not a problem?
She's like, surely you can do both. Surely you can do. I mean, but my mom behaved exactly like this when I was around 18, when I decided I want to do computer science, software engineering, because my mom actually wanted me to pursue medical because we don't have that many doctors in the family. We have a few, not that many, but we have a lot of engineers in our family. We've got loads of them, including my dad. So my mom was like, surely you can do both. So I just it reminded me of that phase, like where your mom's very ambitious mom says, "Surely you can be a doctor and an engineer, right?" It was the same thing. So she said the same thing to me last year. I know, and she's like, "Surely you can be this hotshot full time exec and a businesswoman. Like, surely you can do both, right?" So, and then I had to explain her that no, actually you can't because there are, these are the reasons, X, Y, Z. So I had to break it down, right? She's also very, very scared of like external investments. Like she's not into all that, right? So she's like, and then she asked me about capital. She's like, "Do you need any capital? Don't take it from outside. Like I'll give you. It's fine." So there's all of that. So I
Mhm.
was like, "No, no, no, it's fine. You don't have to give me anything. It's okay. I've sorted it out." So there were a few things she asked me, like really hilarious questions, but very typical of an Asian or an Indian mom, I would say. So yeah, it was a shock to her system, I think. And I'm not sure if she gets what I what I do. I mean, she follows my Insta, she follows the Instagram of my company as well. So she's always the first one to like and comment on everything. And so I don't know what she understands, what she doesn't. But I think she's now made peace with the fact that, okay, she's done that. But I'm pretty sure externally she always tells people she's a CPO. I think that's what she says, I think. But then obviously she also knows that I have a parallel life as a businesswoman as well. So I think she's found peace with that.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
That's amazing. I should also add, you have 2 small children at home, so it's not just like you have the 2 businesses, you also have
No,
all
no,
the
no. I've got other people involved. Yes, I've got a husband. I've got one husband. I've got two boys. I've got a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. Pretty full on as well. Especially the 3-year-old is still so small.
Mhm.
So there is obviously a lot of responsibilities around the household as well. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not just work. It's family. It's the whole thing together. Yeah.
You got everything. Okay, so now, why product? What about product appeals to you?
So product, it's an interesting one. Look, I mean, I'm not a. I think the more I'm growing in my career, I think I'm moving more towards kind of M&A and things like that. I think that's kind of the direction of travel for me in the next few years. So I started. So I'm a computer science graduate. So computer science engineering, that's my undergrad. So software engineering was my first job as a coder, as a developer. That was my first job, and worked as a developer for about 3.5 years. And then I did my MBA. So after MBA, my career changed a little bit because I didn't say after doing an MBA, you don't want to go back to being a
No.
programmer. You want to do something a bit more businessy, right? So that's when actually product was like an emerging path, emerging field in the UK back then. So it was like
Mhm.
2012, I think 2011, 2012. So I moved into product pretty early, but still I was one of the kind of early movers, I would say, in the world of product management. So and I think that benefited me. So I went into product because I felt that I was one of those rare people who were technically very strong,
Mm.
but I had deep empathy for the user, for the customer, deep knowledge when it comes to business and how the product should make money, which I think a lot of techie folks forget. As you know, a lot of
Mhm.
like if you are deeply embedded in technology, you often forget the why. So I was very good with the why. Like, why should we build this product? Who's going to use it? How will this product make money? So I was really commercially strong. So I found myself this beautiful job, which kind of marries the commercial astuteness along with the technical prowess, right? So I had both. So I felt like at that point, this was a role that was meant for people like myself. And if you rewind back to product management kind of 15 years ago, a lot of people who moved into product management back then were very similar to me, actually. People who came from a technical background but probably had gone to business school or had this kind of commercial mind, but they were not able to use those skills in their day job. So they moved into product management. So I would say that was the
Yeah.
love. That was love of product. There was love for the craft. So I kind of moved into it. But I never had that. I mean, my goal as a person, as a professional, was always to run organizations, build a business or run a business. So I don't think I did an MBA to become a CPO. So that was not the goal. I don't think anybody does an MBA to become a CPO, really. Like, that was not even a thing back then. That job title didn't exist back then. So I think my goal was always to lead a business or run somebody else's business, which is what I'm doing today. So that actually makes me quite happy.
Mhm. That's fantastic. It's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to sidebar here into talking about product for just a second. We're going to
Mm.
geek out a little bit. So, my other business, so as you mentioned, you're also a consultant. I am
Yeah.
also a consultant. I've got a team now doing some work on what the product manager of the future looks like, right? So, in the world of the frontier, what does the frontier product manager look like? And what is their role? What is their job? What is their behaviors? What are their skills? What are their activities? And so we've done some research on this externally, but we've also done a lot of secondary research. And what the
Mm.
secondary research says about the skills and capabilities needed is that in the future there are three.
Mhm.
And you just listed them. It is business acumen, technical knowledge, empathy,
Yeah.
empathy for the customer. And that is the one that is, I think, the magic of
Mm.
this role in making it happen. And do you find that it's rare that this skill set together is rare? Or do you think that people that have one of these or one or
Mhm.
two of these naturally can develop the third?
No, it's pretty rare actually. And throughout my career, I've worked with so many product people, different levels, some very senior, some still kind of, at a graduate level, I would say. But I think the best product people are still, you can count them in your fingers. Like, it's so minimal.
Hmm.
There's very few who are really good at their jobs. I also think that empathy, you can develop empathy, I guess, but ultimately you need to be naturally an empathetic person. You need to be a naturally curious person, right? So if you're the kind of person who just takes orders and just goes and delivers, goes and executes without questioning what's the purpose, what's the goal of this. I just don't think you're like naturally a good product person, you know. I think a good product person is insanely curious and relentless. Relentless is the word I would use. Like most good product people are pretty relentless in terms of their job, in terms of what they do. And they are infinitely curious to find the answers, the kind of very specific, answers to the questions like why are we building this? What is it support? Who is it serving? Why should we build it? It's like I think some of these very basic questions that product people need to really ask earlier on in the process if they want to build a product, right? And even in today's AI world, now that we've got all these tools and there's like all these amazing tools at our disposal. So I mean, we can really build products easily today versus like even 6 months ago. I think product was very different. Like we can build things so much easier now. But it doesn't matter that we have all these AI tools, so anybody can now do product management. That's actually not true. It's the opposite. I feel
Mhm.
like now that shipping code or shipping a product has become so easy and it's become commodity, really, like tech has become a commodity. I feel the value of a good product manager is way more today versus even 6 to 12 months ago,
I
and
agree.
that value it's going to continue to increase. But this also means that I think a lot of people who call themselves product managers and who are really doing a delivery manager job, I think they will probably find it harder to survive in this new world.
I absolutely agree. I think it's gonna be a really rough transition for a lot of people. I think what we've seen across our research is that the legacy teams, particularly the legacy kind of senior IC level,
Correct. Yeah.
came up because they were strong technically. That
Yeah.
that was a skill that absolutely cannot be replaced, yet absolutely critical.
Mm.
And even I will admit, like the business aspect of it and the commercial acumen could always be supplemented. Like in a lot of ways, like we've grown our business because we've been that supplementation arm. Like we've
Yeah.
added the commercial strategy to really smart technical people.
Absolutely.
But now you're absolutely right. As that technical piece collapses and
Yeah.
commoditizes, the empathy piece and this a relentless focus on the customer. Because the way that you're going to be able to build things as it gets so much faster, you're not building in the right direction. You're going to go off course really fast and
Completely.
find yourself, right? It's like when you're in space, when you're in space, like a space movie and they have like a little bit of you shoot a little bit in the wrong direction, and all of a sudden you're like on the wrong planet. Like
Yeah.
that's what can happen with the product. And like keeping that bound is going to be really critical. I also think that a lot of product organizations, particularly smaller, and when I say smaller, I mean like under 10 billion. Okay. So like smaller product organizations, they haven't had to have the level of governance around this.
Yes.
So they absolutely don't have it. They have not invested in it because it's never been necessary, because they were able to keep pace. And that
Yeah.
technical piece was so important. As that cycle starts spinning, 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 that governance on it and the intelligence from the empathy and the business portion are going to become really important. So I think from a CPO perspective, the actual leadership perspective, having that and being able to then scale that skill across your organization is going to be incredibly important to these teams. So
Absolutely.
that's my soapbox. Sorry. Okay, guys. Sorry, I got serious there for a second. Let's go back to the fun stuff. Now, when you decided that it was time to leave the full-time job and go plural, you did what a lot of consultants say they would like to do, which is go work with private equity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, your opinion on if that was good or bad, but what I want to know is how did you do it? Like to help the people
Yeah.
understand
It's
what step I took.
Yeah, but this is where, I go back to the power of networking. I mean, you and I have discussed this at length. I think when we met face to face, I remember we discussed this, right? And this is my advice to everybody in my community as well that look, you need to network continuously. Networking is
Mhm.
not something that you do when you need a job. Networking is something you do when you have a job
Mhm.
so that when you need the next job, your network shows up for you,
Mhm.
right? And I think I got the fruit of this, like, when I left my permanent role last year. So I left my role around end of last year. And then after that, I started, just you have to let people know, right? That's a first step. So I started letting people know, like some of the search firms who I've been one of their favorite candidates over the years, because again, I'm a perm CPO candidate for them. So I had to tell them that I'm so sorry, but I don't think I'm going to be in your perm candidate list anymore because I'm changing direction a little bit. So I'm going to do advisory and fractional work. So introduce me to your interim teams, introduce me to the teams that work on fractional contract, that type of work, in your practice. And that's what they did. So from the perm practice, they kind of moved me towards the fractional advisory, etc. So I started kind of rekindling some of those connections which I already had. And, they reacted very positively to help me out. Then reached out to some of the firms like PE firms that I personally know and have worked with. And again, the kind of the response was actually very positive. I also feel that timing is ultimately everything, right? It's all about timing. And I think at this point if you look at the global economy in general, and now obviously with AI, all companies are talking about flattening the hierarchies, like flattening their teams, right? So people are saying we don't need so many managers anymore. There will be more kind of senior managers, senior leadership, and then more kind of practitioners, more ICs, right? So I think the timing is really good because a lot of these organizations they can't actually afford to hire a full-time CPO, or they might not need a full-time CPO anymore, right? But they'd still need a product person, like they still need a strong product leader who can hold them accountable, who can hold their teams accountable. And I think fractional and advisory type of role fits very well into that situation, right? Because you have somebody who can work for you 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but is not on your payroll and is not, you don't have to worry about them from a full-time employee capacity. It's not a new role that you're creating in your organization because it's more of a consultant. It's a consultant role, right? So I think for organizations, it's actually a win-win. And for people like myself who want to grow their own business along with, working as well, I think it's a good way for me to make sure that I can do both. So I feel like there is a lot of complementary, in terms of the situation that a lot of these organizations are facing. And this is what I did when I reached out to some of the PE firms. Kind of my pitch was this, right? Like that, look, you guys need senior people. Senior people are hard to come by. First of all, the good ones are always busy, but then you also don't need full time. Sometimes you need people 2, 3 days a week. And that's even harder. That's very hard to actually find people like that. And that's where I kind of come in, right? So I think I got some really good feedback off the back of that. And actually by December, I had 2 roles already. I didn't want 2 roles. I actually was looking for one role, which I can kind of cover 3 days a week. But as they say, when you get in abundance. It's always, that's how life is, right? So I got 2 roles actually. And because it's the first time I'm kind of going plural, right? So I didn't want to turn down the roles actually. I took both. So I ended up working actually 5 days the last 6 months. I mean, it's changing now. Starting next month, it's changing. I'm reducing the hours. But for the last 6 months, I was actually working 5 days a week, but for 2 different companies. So I was fractional for each of them. But from my perspective, my diary was full 5 days a week. And it was a great, fantastic experience. But one lesson I also learned is if you work too much, you're kind of, your cup is just empty constantly. It's also not
Yes, true.
very good, right? So cannot operate well with an empty cup. So after summer, like summer is mostly traveling, but after summer, I actually don't want to work 5 days. I want to make a very conscious decision to for myself that no, I can only work 2 or 3 days a week. I can't do more than that. But the first 6 months of this year has been super rewarding. As I said, I went solo and then kind of did two different gigs. But also, it has been a great experience for me. First time working that way.
That's fantastic. I had this blissful period for about a year and a half
Hmm.
where I worked only 3 days a week. It was
Oh, amazing!
great.
It feels so good, isn't it? Yeah.
Why did I leave it? Yeah. Oh,
No,
one
because
day.
all of a sudden you have time for admin. Don't you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
so?
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I literally didn't work. I mean, I just didn't work. I just take Monday off, It was
Yeah.
a good gig. Anyway, I guess your ambition kills you in the end. One question I had to you before we switched to CPO track, it's about misconceptions about plural careers. What misconceptions do you think people have about this? Particularly those people that still have that kind of traditional career mindset, yet are somewhat unfulfilled to downright frustrated about how they're working every day.
I think there is a time for everything. I think there is always a time for these type of decisions. So I personally feel that, so my advice is don't be in a hurry. Like I see a lot of people who are still mid career, right? They're still mid career. So they are like, let's say a director or like a first time VP. That is still mid career. I would consider that to be mid career still. And then, but they are like, they can't wait to go solo, to go plural, they're like looking for board roles, advisory roles, this, that. And they find it really hard to land these roles, right? And I think sometimes I think patience is very important. So do the whole thing, right? I would say reach the top of the ladder, like do a CPO or whatever C-suite role you want to do. Do it once, do it twice, maybe do it thrice, because I did it 3 times, full time, right? And then I made this switch, right? So I feel like ultimately your credibility depends on how many times you can do the same role, right? A lot of people you will see, they just do a CPO role for 6 months, a permanent full-time
Mm.
role, 6 months. And then after that, they're gone, like going solo, doing contract. I just feel like you need to do it a few times, give it some time to yourself and build your profile in that role. And then actually, when you go plural, the biz dev becomes easier because most of the roles you're going to get is inbound. It's all
Yes.
inbound. Yeah,
I will tell you. So I left mid-career. And again, I didn't have a plan. Okay. I just left and started talking to people and like, I'm not a great example, but it was quite challenging because the network there, where I had credibility was
yeah.
limited to a number of leaders who had worked with me in the past because I
Mm.
needed to have credibility with people who also had budget. I had plenty of
Exactly. Yeah.
credibility with people that didn't have budget, but the people with, that's where I needed to find. And actually, luckily enough, I was able to find those people, but like it was a bit more challenging. Fast forward this to now, I don't think I'd have a problem at all, right? Because my peers are all in the
Exactly.
positions with budget,
Exactly.
have worked with me. Like you're looking
Exactly.
completely different story.
And it's a phone call away. Everybody's a text away. You're at that
Yeah.
stage, right? I feel the same. It's everybody's a text away. But if I was a director today, or if I was a VP today trying to go plural, I don't think it would be this easy. I would still have to do a lot of outbound pitches, outbound kind of biz dev and all of those things, which is always hard, always hard, as you know, right? It's
Mhm.
much easier when when you're approached by different organizations for roles and things like that. Inbound is always easier. And I'll tell you, the same applies to community building, right? Because some of your audience might be thinking about building communities, which I highly recommend, by the way. It's very, very powerful. But community building is the same way, right? You often see a lot of communities, functional kind of communities focus on a certain craft, let's say. It fizzles out, runs for a few years and then fizzles out. They stop getting sponsors, stop getting engagement from anyone. But because I started the community after I became a CPO, I think the job title, whether we like it or not, job titles are still very powerful, right?
Very powerful. Yeah.
Very powerful. So, and I say this to everybody. A lot of people, a lot of people don't, they rubbish it, right? They're like, oh, so old school job title. What are you talking about? No, no, no. But majority of the world, if you look at 90% of the world probably still believes in job titles. And so when I started my communities, both my communities, I mean, I was a multiple time CPO already, right? I'd done the role multiple times, which means that getting a sponsor for me was so easy. It was honestly, as I said, it was a text away. I just had to let somebody know. And most of this at the moment, everything is inbound. From a sponsorship
Mhm.
perspective, our entire business is inbound. It's word of mouth, referral, and inbound. That's it. We don't do any outbound marketing. We don't do anything like that. But what I'm saying is, if I was just a PM, so imagine if I was just a product manager wanting to start a product leadership community, I don't think I would have got any traction.
Yeah, it's very challenging. I think the people that can, so if that is you and you're listening, the question is, okay, so how do you and you have to leave or you're like dead committed to it, which I don't, again, I did it. So it's not an impossibility. I think you need to have one, if you don't have the title, you have to have a pedigree. I think that really
Yes.
helped. Like it has helped me in hindsight, the 3 years of not sleeping at BCG was worth every late night because that is the credibility on the resume. Also, you mentioned the work hard, go to a good college. I still think that is credible. At least maybe not at this point, but back then that was. Then the other thing that I think you can do to get around it is have a very, very tight story around a very specific problem you solve and the unique expertise that you bring. For me, it was pricing. So pricing with a focus on margin, in this was at the rise of the omni channel. In the omni channel, I could tell that
Yeah.
story. I had case studies. I had quantifiable evidence of what the team had delivered. And therefore, those projects were easier for me to sell. It's very different, though. I do think the human brain needs some sort of substantiation if they don't have a deep personal relationship, and the title can be where it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay. So, community. Let's talk about community. I've had a couple people, let me give a little bit of context here. So, I've had several guests come on the podcast in the last month purposefully who are building communities. And the reason
Wow.
I'm curious about this is because this is not an area where I am interested in doing it myself. You will never see a 2 by 2 community. Okay. It's never going to happen. I don't have a skill. I find that the aspect of what you're about to describe and how you did it to me feels like a boulder uphill. It feels incredibly draining. However, when I'm in a good one, I really appreciate it. So for you, how do you think about communities? How have you used that to start building CPO track? And like what is the value that you're personally I'm sure your members are getting back, but what are you personally getting out of that?
I'm not very transactional in my head. So I don't define life or I don't measure life by what I got today, what I give back. Like, I'm not very transactional, which I think helps. It actually helps because if you're too transactional, if you're thinking, what did I get in return from this conversation or what will I get? I think if you're thinking that way, you won't be able to build a community because community is a very long term game. It's a long term thing, it's not short term. And I also think not everybody can build it because like I'm a people person. I'm a natural extrovert. I like making new friends. That's just the way I am. And I think that has actually served me very well because I like making friends. For me, meeting new people and bringing them into the community, doing events, etc., it comes naturally to me. I don't have to put an effort. But if all of this sounds like a lot of work to you or a lot of effort, don't try. Don't even try because what you don't
Wasted
want
a
to do,
ton of effort.
don't try because what I would say is, most communities, including mine, started as a hobby. So if the hobby stresses you out, that's not a hobby anymore.
It's not a hobby.
Exactly. So that is
It's a
what I tell.
compulsion.
Exactly. That's what I tell people that if this sounds like a lot of work to you, like do not attempt to do it. Right? For me, it comes naturally because even in school, I was the glue. Even in school, like with my group of friends in school, I was the glue. So I would keep people together. We'll make a plan. There's that. It was generally around me. Everything happened around me. So I've been like this in school. So I think when I built, actually, the first community I built was actually a mom's community when I became a mom for the first time. And that was very selfish because I didn't have any mom friends. I didn't have any mom friends. So I was like, okay, let me just build a community around mothers, but mothers who have careers. So it was called the Career Moms Club. It's still alive. The community is still alive. And it was actually a Facebook group. I know it was a Facebook group. So I started in 2018, I think. That's when I had my first child. So it's called the Career Moms Club. And it was very specific. I wanted to kind of mingle with other moms, but moms who had a career, because I think it makes a huge difference, right? Because you're on the
It
same
does.
wavelength, kind of, yeah, the kind of challenges you face at work
The
when you're
conversations you have are
exactly.
incredibly different.
Everything, absolutely. But also discriminate. A lot of women face discrimination, as you know, when they return back to work after mat leave, etc. There's discrimination against moms and all of that, right? So that was very successful. All hard, like there is no business around that community. It's just like a support group kind of a thing on Facebook. It's still alive. There's loads, like 2,000 women, 2,000 moms in that group. And I know it's crazy, right? And we
Someone
share.
should buy it from her, just saying, okay.
So again, as I said, still on Facebook, and we still chat sometimes. Now I just don't have enough time. But when I was a new mom, like of a newborn, at least the first 2-3 years of motherhood, I would say that community actually helped me a lot. But I created it because I didn't have mom friends. That's why I created it. And I actually got a lot of mom friends out of it. But that was my first experience. And it was a pretty successful experience in its own way. So I took that experience and I realized that for professional networks, Facebook is not the right platform. So I created Women in Product UK on LinkedIn. Actually, it was a LinkedIn group. That's what I started. And again, as I said, like I'm not very transactional. The reason I started was because when I became a CPO in 2020, in the middle of pandemic, a recruiter actually told me, Nam, you have no idea. There's a countable number of female CPOs in the whole of UK. And I didn't believe him. I
I
thought that
believe it.
yeah, I thought, okay, fine. He's just saying something, and I did my own research. When I heard what he said, I did my own research. I looked over LinkedIn. I literally stalked a few profiles to see who's out there. And actually, what I found was he is super right. He was very right. And secondly, most of the other CPOs who were out there, I actually knew them already.
You're
So we
like,
were
I already know
so
these women.
I know these women. So we were only like few of us. Yeah, very much countable. And secondly, I knew most of these women, So it was such a small world. So I just felt that maybe I need to do something to give back to the community, and especially female product managers who desperately need role models, because as we all know, you cannot be what you cannot see. Like, I strongly believe in that. I think you need to see strong female bosses, strong female role models if you really want to be one of them. Otherwise you can't be, right? So I started that and it became a movement. It's exploded in popularity. So from LinkedIn, we made it WhatsApp, because LinkedIn is terrible. LinkedIn group is terrible for building community, by the way. It is, nobody ever checks LinkedIn groups, as you know.
No, I think they like
It's
downgrade them
like
in the
dead. It's
algorithm
dead. It's
actually, like,
downgraded. Nobody cares. Yeah. So we started in LinkedIn group, and then I moved it from LinkedIn group to WhatsApp. And
ah,
yes, the moment we moved it to WhatsApp, Lauren, oh my God, it was like a cult.
I love it.
It
I mean,
was
no
crazy.
offense, but, like, I can see people following the cult of Nam. Like, it's like, if you're still with us here, like, go on YouTube. She's, like, super cute, fashionable. You're like, "How does she have it? Her shit is so together." Like, of
It's not.
course
I
they're
don't think
following you.
anybody's shit is together, honestly. But we all have to pretend, I guess. But like, but that's the thing. That's the movement, right? The moment we brought it to WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is very popular actually in the UK, which
It's
helped,
popular
right?
here too now. I mean, it is the, like, de facto communication for any group.
Exactly. And the women loved it because they felt, first of all, they associate LinkedIn to work, and a lot of women feel that they can't be themselves on LinkedIn because what if a colleague or a boss is
Yeah,
snooping in, so people have that fear in their mind. For some reason, WhatsApp, people are all in.
they are. It's like they're
They are
faceless and
all in. They're
yeah,
fearless. Exactly. They don't give a shit. They're like, we can
there's
talk
no
whatever we want.
punctuation, like
No, exactly. And people are super open. So that became an absolute movement, and it just kind of completely, I was shocked the amount, I mean, how it became so successful. And then we started doing events, because again, some companies came to me saying, we will sponsor, you just tell us like what you need from us, but we will sponsor the whole thing. So when companies came to me saying stuff like that, I was like, fine, let's do something, let's trial. So everything started with the product concept like MVP, right? Everything is a minimum viable product. You start that and then you kind of continue. Then I started monetizing women in product because a lot of women started asking for coaching. They were like, we need coaching, we need introduction to recruiters, we need jobs, we need mentors, we need all these things. And the thing is, if you need all these things, it's impossible to give it for free. It's impossible because it needs a lot of investment of my own time, right? So then we started like hiring coaches. We have a whole network of coaches now. We have like exclusive partnerships now with some really good recruitment firms, who go all the way. They go out of the way to help our members securing jobs. Actually, they review CVs. They will even write CVs if
wait,
needed for them.
Nam, hang on, are you still talking about women CPOs in the UK, or now are we on CPO track? Like, do
We
you have
are
some
we are
shadow
talking.
business that we didn't even know about?
Yeah, so I'm talking about Women in Product UK, which is a big community here. It's not global. It's not global. So people outside of the UK know less about it because it's not a global community. It's a UK community. And that's very intentional. I wanted to keep it UK. So that was the WIP, like Women in Product success story. And then off the back of WIP, what happened is so one business leads to the other always. So what happened was we had a lot of these women who were Women in Product UK, and they were very senior, and they were enjoying this whole WhatsApp group with all these other people, but it was not curated. What that means is the senior women had very different challenges in their lives and in their jobs. And a 25-year-old PM has very different challenges in life and job. It's not the same, right?
Okay, so this was
Yeah.
like spanning the
Yeah, exactly,
years.
exactly.
I
So
got very different. Yeah,
absolutely. And a lot of the senior women came to me and said, love women in product, but it's a bit draining because a lot of the junior PMs are DMing
yeah.
me for mentorship. And this is fine, but I also want to receive. I just don't want to give, right? Which is totally, totally true. And I feel the same, right? So then
Mhm.
I felt, okay, I need to create a platform for senior product women who can find their own path, like their own kind of circle, and can brainstorm and all that. And then a few of my male CPO friends reached out to me very kindly and said, we heard rumors that you're creating this space for executive
Knock, knock,
women.
knock, let me in.
Exactly. They were like, we are
Little
hearing
pig, little
rumors.
pig. Like,
Exactly. Men are like, they just somehow find these things, right? So they're like, we're hearing these rumors that you're doing this for women. what about us? We need a space as well. We need to be included. Please include us. And I felt, okay, actually, it makes a point because at the senior level, it converges. The conversion is,
Yeah.
it converges more than at the junior. I think at the junior level, when you're like a 25-year-old, I think you really need the sisterhood. You really need it. But actually, if you really want those big jobs and a seat on the board and
You
all of that,
actually need to
yeah,
avoid it once you get to a certain point,
yeah,
right?
you
It's
need to,
nice and
yeah.
safe.
Exactly
Yeah,
that. So
I agree.
I think convergence is more common and needed probably at the senior levels, right? So I listened to their feedback and I was like, okay, fine, let's include you guys and let's see, if you continue to behave well, we'll keep you in the community. So we started it with like it became all gender, so it became unisex. So now CPO track is unisex. It's like 800 plus members, and we are live in 12 international cities. And oh my god, it's been an absolute crazy journey. But I also feel that it's been successful because it was something that was missing. It was
Yeah,
something that was missing completely from at least the markets here because there were all these communities, but those communities had no goals. There was no curation, and the quality of conversations were very low. So
yeah,
we completely changed that, right? It's highly curated, which means that the conversations are high quality because the curated group of people. And we are very focused on progression, very focused on progression, job opportunities, career opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities. So it's all about opportunities. And actually, as a member, if you're finding this place where it gives you friendships, but also it gives you almost infinite opportunities, why would you ever leave?
right. And there's no, and you have, so I'm not, I mean, I'm not really a member. I'm there because I like the people. I'm not a CPO by any stretch. I work with CPOs. You started in the UK, expanded into continental Europe, and now have expanded to the US. You have a group in New York. You've kicked off the group in Austin, which I'm happy to be a participant in. We have some plans for the Pacific Northwest where I'm going to help
Yes.
you make some connections there. You've started in the Bay Area as well. So it's expanding to the US. How can I think people should go check where can people learn more about it? Like how I know they can go join the WhatsApp group, but like where do they actually learn about what you are and what you provide?
Best place obviously is our website. So the website will tell you all about our membership packages. So we are not freemium. We are very much because it's such a vetted community. We can't do freemium, and we used to be freemium back when we started. It all starts as a freemium model, as you know. So again, as I said, I followed a lot of the product principles in growing this as well, as you can see. So we did a lot of freemium and kind of product led growth and stuff like that. Now we've stopped doing that. So I mean, the website is the best place to see the packages, the membership packages, and what you get and everything. And list of sponsors are there as well, and we have all these coaches. Everything is there. But in terms of if you really want to see the action, like what happens, events and all, I would say our Insta is the best place. It's the most
Oh,
fun place. So the Instagram, you will see videos, you will see stories, reels, pictures, everything that we do. And of course, the LinkedIn page, we share a lot of photos and videos there as well. But the Instagram has more because, as you know,
CPO
Insta
track
is that
is the
kind of a
Insta
platform.
handle.
So, yeah, so Insta is actually Women in Product UK. I haven't created a separate Instagram for CPO track only because a lot of the senior people actually they are not active users of Instagram. They use it, but they don't use it every day. But women in product, they slightly younger members, so they use Instagram almost like every day, I would say. So it is Women in Product UK. That's the Insta handle. But I can actually see that you've started following. I've got my phone in front of me, so I know it's Women in Product UK, but. A lot of the CPO track footage, all the event, everything is shared in the same group, in the same page,
Awesome.
basically.
Do you
Yeah,
buy
so that
dinner? This
that'll
looks
tell you.
fantastic. I want to start traveling and going to all your events as a business expense. This is
It's you people do that absolutely, and we have a summer party. I mean, I would love to see you at the summer party on 7th of July in London. And actually, we have people traveling from different parts of Europe, etc., for that one. So I'm super 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 happy. And Christmas is like that. We do a pretty big Christmas party every year, and actually, we always have members traveling from other countries because it's like one of those events that they really block their diaries for because they want to
Mhm.
meet the whole community.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I'll end it there just in the interest of time. I want to say thank you to Nam Sarma, CEO of CPO Track, and following a lively plural career in addition to two young boys. And thank you so much for joining us on the 2x2. I want to make sure I think there's one thing. What is the right email? What is the right URL to go check out? Is it, we got the Insta. What's
CPO
the
track.
URL?
It's cpotrack.co.uk.
Okay, cpotrack.co.uk. Thank
Yeah.
you. Members, we look forward to meeting you And listeners, go check it out. Thanks so much, Nam. Have a fantastic weekend.
You too, Lauren. Thank you so much. Love the chat.